I went to AAA. I was hitting 320, and thinking any day I'm going to get called up because Vukovic wasn't doing a whole lot. And I read in the paper that Pete Rose was moved to third base. And I said, what? And Vukovic got sent down to AAA and played behind me. And he said, hey, kid, you might as well go ahead and buy a home here in Indianapolis.
Oh, boy.
But I spent 2 more years there before I finally made the ball club. Ironically, as Pete's defensive replacement in 77, 78, and finally in 79 he left. It was tough only because of the fact that Pete was a Cincinnati boy, and there is probably no icon ever to play for a hometown that was more revered than Pete, and he was loved there, still is loved there. Hard to see him go last month as we became great friends, but I had a great year. I hit 319, Pete hit 323, so I still didn't out-hit him, but I outplayed him at third.
What a great opportunity. And so you wound up in, for folks here, it was 1984 when you first came to Shea Stadium and wound up as a member of the New York Mets. And at that, 84 was really the kind of the year when things were starting to happen, when you were kind of starting to get the idea like, wow, this could be a very good baseball team at some point. And you saw it right up close in person.
There was no doubt about it.
Yeah.
We played first game that Doc Gooden pitched. He pitched in Houston, and I faced him for my first time. First at bat, he struck me out on a high fastball, and he threw seeds, and he threw as hard as anyone, and he had a great curveball. Nobody that I'd ever faced at 19 years old had that kind of command, that understanding of pitching. He could pitch the ball in and out. He elevated the fastball at will. He was able to get that curveball over. He didn't have a changeup. He was basically a 2-pitch pitcher, but his 2 pitches were so dominant, and he had such good control that obviously he dominated the league for those first 4 years. And it was really something to see how mature he was on the mound. I went and visited him on the mound many times in '74, and I never saw anything but confidence, of quiet peacefulness in the way that he went about his business. He was just, he just was supremely confident in what he could do.
When you were wound up on the Mets in '84, what was your reaction? Did you feel like, wow, I'm in a good place right now, that this is a good opportunity for me as a ball player to with this team, especially knowing that, wow, well, Gooden's here. You've already faced them, and you know that this guy has some good stuff. Some of the younger players coming along, Hernandez obviously winding up there, people like Carter, you know.
Well, they were coming. They had so much talent in the minor leagues, a lot of good pitching talent, and Hubie Brooks was playing third, and Santana was playing shortstop, and so they moved Hubie to short, and I started playing third. I was coming off of a torn ribcage muscle, so I didn't tell anybody, and so I ended up in like 280, but with not a lot of pop, and so they went and acquired Hojo that winter, and we platooned over there.
Yeah.
And finally, when I got healthy, I was fortunate enough to win that job from Hojo in '86. But everybody knows how great a player he became. And so I was just one of those players that was acquired late in his career that knew how to win, understood how to prepare, and was more than happy to share it with my teammates. Kevin Mitchell took ground balls with me every day at third base. And that was when he got called up more than anything to make sure that he stayed out of trouble, although he wasn't a troublemaker. Everybody thought that he was misleading Darryl and Doc, but he wasn't. Kevin was a great guy, a stand-up guy. He didn't drink. He didn't smoke. He didn't do anything that I know of illegal. He did get shot protecting his nephew in a deal in San Diego, but that's the way some of those guys grew up. But Kevin was a great guy, and he became a really great player. He was a big part of the makeup of that Met team, the toughness and the stick-to-itiveness that everybody had on that ball club. I mean, almost to the man. That just was not going to be denied. Fierce competitors.
Let's talk about that '86 team, because I remember seeing, I think there was a rain. I don't know if you guys saw this. Remember, like, it was a rain out, and they showed the '86 with Bob Murphy doing the coming attractions of the season, and you guys basically in your hearts with Davey Johnson were like, we got this. I mean, like, there was a lot of confidence there. Some might call it arrogance, but there was a lot of confidence that you had the team that could win the World Series, no doubt about it.
Yeah, well, we played so well in '84 and '85, and the Cubs played a little bit better in '84. I think we lost by 2 games. And in '85, I think we lost by a couple of games to the Cardinals.
Yeah.
But there was no doubt in our mind that this ball club was really coming. So many young stars, and you sprinkle in Gary and Keith, and it just Mookie was kind of an intermittent guy. Hubie got traded, but obviously when Gary Carter came over, Keith was already there. You had instantaneous respect, and you had guys that you knew that could perform and play every day, and it wasn't going to wilt. And the ball club started to embrace that. And after being close in '84 and '85, Davey Johnson in spring training said, "Hey, we know we're a great ball club. We've gotten better each year. I just want you to know, this is in spring training in the clubhouse, that we're going to dominate. We're not just going to go play. We're not going to just go win the division. We're going to dominate. We're going to dominate every team that we play because we're better than they are. And all you have to do is believe it. You've proven it already how good you are, but we just haven't gotten to the mountaintop. So I want you to think about from the first day in spring training that we're going to dominate and getting that in your mind." And it became a mindset. And, you know, we got off to such a great start that everybody started believing it. And as a result, a lot of good things happened.
Yeah, it just kind of went on from there, and you had such a great year in '86. Coming off of, like you said, you were platooning with Howard Johnson in '85. Not the greatest year of your career, more of a down year.
Thanks.
But that being said, '86, 298 average, 11 homers, 76 RBIs, and of course, as we head towards the World Series, let's talk about. I want to talk about the NLCS first, because that was a classic series that the Mets, thank God, came out on top. But it was not. That was not a given. That was a tough series. Yeah.
Well, the Astros had great pitching. Good gracious, you're facing guys that can shut you down. Just starting with Nolan Ryan and Mike Scott. Forget about the rest of them.
Yeah.
Those 2 guys, in my opinion, they were the best 2 right-handers in the league, and besides Doc. And you just knew that you weren't going to score very many runs off of them. You knew that you're going to have to play solid baseball, solid defense, and that you're going to have to pitch because you're going to have to match zeros. And those games, facing them, it was a struggle. It was a real struggle. We didn't put together big innings like we always did. You could always figure in a game with the Mets that somewhere, a couple of innings, we're going to throw up crooked numbers, 3-4 runs an inning. And those games, we just got 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0. And so, and I'll admit it right here, for the first time, really in 3 years, and certainly after that season when we were so dominant, against Mike Scott, there was guys that were just complaining in the dugout about him scuffing the ball. Well, there's no question he's scuffing the ball. But my attitude about it was, hey, they're not going to do anything about it. Umpires were short on the balls. They're not going to do anything about it. So we have to figure out some way that we're gonna beat this. Move up in the box, be able to get to the fastball, lay off the high fastball, and get to that ball before it breaks. But guys just, all they talked about was, we're gonna have to face Mike Scott in Game 7. We're gonna have to face Mike Scott. And it's the only time, I promise you, I didn't say that, because I did make adjustments. I did not get any hits in the second start, but I hit the ball hard 3 times because I just moved up in front of the box. But sometimes you have to find a way. You have to sometimes change, make an adjustment in order to give yourself a better chance. And we were just in the back of the box, and he was wearing us out. And but it wasn't just Mike Scott. The Astros had a really good baseball team. The best team. I played with the Astros for 3 years, and that's the best baseball team that they had. And they could run. They played solid defense. They had pop. They had good relief pitchers and outstanding starting pitching. But in a game that we get behind 3-0 with Bob Knepper pitching in Game 6, we were able to come back and fight back like we always had done, and win that ball game. And I still believe we'd have beat Mike Scott in Game 7, but I might have been one of the only guys that thought that.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, I mean, I feel like baseball is such a mental game, right? So if guys are in their heads are like, oh, we don't want to face Scott, we don't want to face Scott, is that a big issue? Or
heck yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just like going down a dirt road and there's a mud puddle and you say, I don't know if I need to go to that mud puddle. We might get bogged down. You just start thinking negative thoughts as opposed to just thinking positively, clear mind, see the ball, hit the ball, and take the results. No, we created, honestly, just a negative approach to Mike Scott. And he deserved the respect, but certainly we were good enough to make an adjustment, make a bunch of adjustments, whether it was, bunting for a base hit, getting him moving around on the mound, taking some pitches, taking him deep in counts, just doing something to combat whatever he was doing. He certainly wasn't the best pitcher I ever faced in my life. He just was maybe as good as anybody that I faced one game. But that doesn't mean he's going to have that type of game every time he goes out there.
Yeah, I mean, you faced some of the best pitchers of all time, and it was strange that year in particular, like he was so fierce, and he had played for the Mets too, which is
He developed a split finger. He called it a split finger. That was the excuse that when he threw that fastball with the scuff on the horseshoe side of the ball, and he threw it across seam. When he threw it across seam, the wind would just push it down because it was so scuffed, and it would just drop off the table. Well, it looked like a four-seam fastball. You could not, every pitch that you face as a major league hitter, you can identify what that pitch is in flight. And whether it's a slider that spins this way, curveball spins this way, knuckleball, changeup that has more of a little tumbling action, late movement, and then the speed, a four-seam fastball that has all this, and then a sinker that has corkscrew. So you, as a hitter, if you're seeing the ball well, you can identify every pitch that's thrown to you. When it's tough, or almost impossible, is when a pitcher throws you a pitch that you don't even know what it was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I have no clue. Bruce Sutter was that way because he threw a split finger. I don't know if he scuffed it. Jack Morris was that way. He threw a split finger. And you just could not identify it. It looked like a fastball. And so your mind says fastball because whatever your eyes see is what your mind's going to tell you. So it says fastball, you swing at it, and instead of being 95, it's 87. And the movement gets you, but the change of speed wears you out.
Oh, wow. Boy, you don't hear this every day, huh? This is pretty cool. All right. But the good news is we didn't have to face Mike Scott in Game 7.
Yeah.
We went to the World Series. But that being said, we got to a pretty precarious position in Game 6 of the 1986 World Series, where we were down 5-3. It was the 10th inning, and it didn't look too good for the Mets, Mr. Knight.
No, it didn't look too good.
Yeah.
And it didn't feel very well. Didn't feel very good.
But I feel like, didn't Keith Hernandez say something like, "I'm not making the last effing out"?
But he did. He made the second one.
Oh, thank God Keith's not here.
That was Gary Carter.
Yeah, Gary said that.
Was that Gary? Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, that game epitomized what, and it shouldn't have taken that long. I don't think it took that long for fans to realize how tough we were, how competitive we were, and how we believed that we were never out of the ballgame. That's when I say it's an anomaly talking about Mike Scott and that thought process, because I hadn't seen it except for that situation. But, you know, we had this mantra or this idea or this belief that, you know, you weren't out of the ballgame until the 3 outs in the 9th inning. And all you have to do, and this sounds simple, but it's factual, is do your job. Do what you can do. Get a good ball to hit. Don't let the situation get bigger or make it bigger than what it is. Because my dad actually told me, and the Mets did it to a T, Ray, if there's a runner on second base and there's nobody out, you're up 10-0, do you have any pressure when you're at bat? I said, no, sir, Daddy. I don't have any pressure if we're up 10 runs, running on second base. He said, well, what happens if tie ball game, or you're down a run, you have a run on second base and 2 outs? Do you feel pressure? And this is as a 9-year-old. I said, yes, sir. I said, I feel pressure that I got to drive him in. I must drive him in. And he said, well, no, that's the wrong thinking. He said, it's just an at-bat. It's the same at-bat, the same plate, the same pitcher. So don't let the situation overwhelm you and make it bigger than what it is. It's just you with a bat, him with a ball, 17 inches that he has to throw the ball over the plate. It's all about you getting a good pitch to hit and your mind being clear enough that you can do the things that you've done your whole life. So we had that attitude. We had that mindset as a team. And me going up there after Gary's base hit and Kevin's base hit, my wife, I looked up at Nancy, and she was up behind home plate, and she was and I said, I got it. I'm all right. And so, man, so I just quickly didn't pay attention to her.
But you did acknowledge her in the stands, right? Did you do a little tip of a cap or something, or your thumbs up? Or
After I hit the home run in Game 7, I did.
Oh, you did? Okay, okay.
A little kiss.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
But you go in situations like that. There is a different place that you go to when you're concentrating at the highest level, and it's almost unconscious because you're concentrating so hard. But it's a soft concentration. It's not, I've got to do this. It's, you just apply everything you know and have learned, and you go, and it's just an at-bat. And I know that that's hard for some people to understand because they say, oh my goodness, this is a tough situation. Well, it really didn't change for me. And I was a pretty good clutch hitter because I did that. I had that approach. And as was Keith, as was Gary, it was just one at bat. when you don't have but one out left in the tank or one out left in your pocket, everybody, those 60,000 people are all scared to death.
Yeah, we
so
were.
We're going to go home unhappy.
Oh, we were.
Something doesn't happen positive. But it wasn't that it built. The fans made it build because the fans went from complete silence with 2 outs to cheering Gary's base hit, and then Kevin's base hit, and then my base hit, and then Mookie hits a little ground ball to first, and hey, we go home. And a couple wild pitches for sure.
Oh, that was pretty good.
A couple wild pitches. And those wild pitches from that pitcher.
That was Bob Stanley, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
putting pressure on himself, trying to make too good a pitch. You know, so it works the same way as with the pitchers it does the hitter. I think pitchers have more of a tendency, though, to struggle in those situations because it seems like it just snowballs with a pitcher. And but hey, we all can think negatively, and I'm saying this, as a, I spent 14 years in the big leagues, and so I had a lot of experience. Went to winter ball in Mexico and also Dominican Republic for a couple of years, and played 5 years in the minor leagues. So I had a lot of opportunities to go up to fail. And I knew what it was like to fail. And then you learn what it's like to succeed, and to succeed feels a whole lot better.
Yeah, let's go. I mean, all right, so we got Calvin Schiraldi in the mound, as you mentioned. Gary Carter gets the single. Kevin Mitchell pinch hitting for Aguilera, single. You get up to the plate, 0-2 count, and now you're feeling it. But just like
What am I feeling?
I don't know. I'm thinking about, well, I played recreational softball when I'm 0-2. I get very nervous.
We'll be all right. We'll be all
Thanks.
right.
I need Ray Knight to be in my head when I'm up there. But you get the hit. I don't want to say bloop single. It was kind of a bloop.
What's wrong with
It was a Texas leaguer, right? Yeah.
I hit a lot of them real hard
Right.
when somebody calls.
Right. So Mitchell goes to third. Stanley comes in. The wild pitch that you mentioned. So Mitchell scores. Now it's 5-5. You're on base,
Second.
and now you get the slow roller first base. Buckner. Now, what are you thinking in your head at that moment? Is Buckner going to make this play? Is Mookie going to beat out that play anyway because he's already so fast? What?
It looked like to me a routine out. I didn't know how far the ball was near the line. From where I was at second base, I mean, he fouled off 3 or 4 pitches. It was some kind of tremendous at bat that he had just to get the ball in play. And so when I broke to go to third, I'm thinking it's a routine play in my mind. I know I'm not going to be able to score on it because it's one of these right here. So, and I knew it wasn't going to get through the infield. So I just thought it was routine ground ball to first base. So I just started running to third as hard as I could, but under control, knowing that I'm not going to run past third and somehow if Mookie. But I never thought about Mookie beating that ball out. I just thought it looked to me to be a routine ground ball. I didn't know how far Buckner was off the line. I didn't realize he was going to have to move 4 or 5 shuffle steps toward the bag because I didn't have the angle to be able to tell that. The only thing is I know is that when I get about maybe 15 feet from third, Buddy Harrelson said, "Go, go, go," and I thought he said, "No, no, no." And so you can tell on the film, instead of me busting my tail around third, I slowed up a couple of steps because I thought he was telling me, there's going to be a play at first and you don't go anywhere. And then I looked over my shoulder and I see the ball trickling into right field.
Oh, wow.
And then I had the most unbelievable sensation, feeling that I've ever had.
Go, go, go.
And it was go, go, go again, for sure. And so I felt like I was not even running on on the ground, I felt like I was elevated. I don't know, it was just an unbelievable magic carpet ride in the home plate. The single most emotional, positive, sweetest feeling that I've ever had. And I never had it again, nothing even close. So I hit a home run the next night in the 7th inning, and that felt really good. But it was not like that feeling. And whatever it was, I can think of a word, but I don't say it.
But you must, but yeah, because you're going from like, oh wow, we just lost the World Series to, holy crap, we're still alive. Yeah.
Yeah, that had a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
Sure. It's just, you think of elation and just feelings of positivity and being overwhelmed by sweet feelings, not bad feelings. And I was just overwhelmed by the positivity of the moment.
Now, Game 7 wasn't a cakewalk. I think a lot of people, we focus on Game 6 a lot, and for good reason, obviously. But Game 7, the Mets are behind as well, and it takes a village, as they say, and you were part of that, and that's why you were the MVP of that series. And you were able to jack one over the wall, you know?
Yeah, we got down, I think, 3 runs early, a couple home runs, and that didn't matter. It really didn't matter to us being down early. It's a lot more difficult for most players when you're down late, 7th, 8th, 9th inning. But to get down early, you never know what the end score is going to be, and that's why a lot of times managers back in the day, they would do a lot of bunting in the first inning, the second inning, and you don't know what the final score is going to be. That one run, you may score 11 and they may score 10, you don't know. But just because you get down 3-0, 4-1, 5-1, you don't want it to be 7, 8, 9 to 1 or 2 early. That's difficult to overcome. But we did not have any negativity in that dugout at all. Certainly after the night before, we were still riding a high, or 2 nights before because it rained us out. But we just kept coming back and getting base hits and big base hits, and then we have the game tied. And Schiraldi, who had thrown me that inside fastball with 2 strikes that I had looped over second, he tried that same inside fastball, and I didn't have 2 strikes, and I hit it about 430 feet.
Yeah. Thank God.
Yeah. That wasn't a blooper.
No, that was not a blooper, Mr. Knight. Mr. Knight's never going to speak to me again after that one. But hey, listen, Game 6 and 7, you were 5 for 8, 1 homer, 3 ribbies, MVP. Let's talk about that. There's a couple of iconic moments. One of them is obviously you crossing the plate after Mookie got the roller. But the other one is Jesse throwing up the glove. And what was that like? I want to know what it was like from the player's perspective. We all know what it was like from the fans, but how cool was it to be out on that field and home and to enjoy that?
I don't know really how. I'll try to make something up. I guess it would be like being in a tank that's pressurized and can't let that pressure off, and you just feel pressure, not failure. You feel the importance of each situation, and every situation in those games is critical. And so every bat, every pitch, every play, and I don't know what's going on with this thing, I got to rotate it.
Yeah.
And but with him throwing that glove up, it was just letting that cap off of that tank. You just were so exhilarated, and I mean, you play 162 games, another 30 in spring training, 192, then you go into playoffs and you play 14, whatever. You played a lot of games. You're tired physically. You just keep.
You'll take that one, yeah.
You're tired physically. You just keep on, keep it on, and trying to get your rest. But it's just a release. And such a proud moment to be able to say that, you know, we were world champions. And it means so much. It means so much to us. Sometimes people, sometimes fans, even the media, don't think that players take it seriously enough, that it's all about the money. Nowadays it might be all about the money. If I was playing for 40 million, I might just be thinking about money. I don't know. But guys that get to the big leagues and stay in the big leagues, they don't only have physical ability, but they're strong mentally. Because there are a lot of players that I came up with, a lot of players that I saw in other organizations that had tremendous physical talent, but mentally just couldn't handle it. So once you get to that point, you've had a lot of bad days in your career. You've had days that it didn't work out just the way you wanted to. But when you win the World Series and you're the best baseball team in the world, all of those failures, all the accomplishments, all that stuff comes to a head in one moment. One moment. And when Jesse threw that glove up, I think it was just everybody letting all of that pressure and all that struggle to be the best, just letting it all out.
Mr. Knight, one question. I know some of the folks out here want to ask a question, but I want to ask you about something that is, come on, it's the elephant in the room, guys. Should the Mets get Juan Soto? I know you still follow the Mets.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Juan Soto, I was broadcasting for the Nationals when Juan signed, and I got to see him play for 2 years. And I heard a guy evaluating today, I don't know who it was, said he didn't have range in the outfield. He does have range in the outfield. He's a good runner. You know, he's a left-handed right fielder, but it gives you an effort. And he's such a. I don't know of a better hitter than Juan Soto that I've seen in the last. Barry Bonds, because he had a little more power than Juan, and he ran a little better. But Juan Soto is a great Hall of Fame, future Hall of Fame player. And the Mets, if they were to acquire him, he will cover for a lot of holes because he's that good offensively. And man, I would do anything that I could possibly do to acquire. There's nobody even close out there to him offensively.
If you were a gambling man, do you think the Mets have a good shot at it? I know it like right now, where everybody's in limbo in this room, everybody here is like, "Oh my God, please!" You know,
I'm not close enough to the Mets situation to really know. I think that the powers that be, all they have to do is look at what he's done and what he can do, and if it comes down to money, and you got the kind of money that the Mets have, then it would be if I had that kind of money, it would be a Met. If it means paying the highest dollar, because I would just give until I got it. I mean, what's the difference in paying 70 million and 80 million? I mean, when you got billions.
Yeah. Does anybody, you want to get questions going for some of the crowd for a couple of minutes before Mr. Knight is? Mr. Knight is very eager to watch the big Georgia football game because he's of course from Albany, Georgia. Yeah. Yeah. All right, we got some mics over there. All right, yeah.
Roger, thanks. Good job.
Hey, what's up, Pete?
Hey, Ray, two quick things. One thing that gives me chills is hearing Vin Scully when it says, "Around third, here comes night." I'm in my mid-40s, and I need to see that again, Ray, but that was incredible hearing him call that. Yes.
Oh, you need to see that now?
Great.
I can't get armed with that.
But this current.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, one point I do want to make, it's different than the 86 team. When you just got up and fought Eric Davis, man, I still watch that
I think Mr. Knight is apologetic about that. I'm kidding.
No, but right, it was the 86, they were just, you guys were incredible, man. You guys took no
Thank
ground.
you.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, that's no problem.
That's a New York question.
Yeah.
Damn straight, Petey.
Ray, so I bought the season ticket holder in '86. I had tickets to games 1 and 7, so it's just amazing. You
Boston ticket holder?
Huh? No. Partial season ticket holder.
Partial.
Oh, freaking!
I was just gonna say, I'm sorry.
Watching Game 6 at the bar in Glendale, Queens, and it was just, you describing it again, I get goosebumps just even thinking about it. But 2 questions now. You mentioned, you thought it was a routine ground ball. So did I. And many years later, now everybody argues after seeing all the videos, I still think he was probably going to be out. But what do you think? Is number 1 and number 2. Were you in O'Neill's like 4 hours later? And
Oh my God.
Where?
O'Neill's.
O'Neill's in Maspeth, Queens. The famous Irish pub.
I was not. I had a wife and babies.
I was, and I was drinking with Jesse and Sis.
Oh, wow.
And a bunch of other Mets because
Right.
of the owner, and they let me in.
Right.
Just
I was
a
one of
phenomenal-
those guys that didn't partake of that alcohol. Gary and I, we were, but no, I didn't make that. But I've known Bill Buckner since 1974. And he was an outfielder. He was unbelievably fast. He ended up getting arthritic ankles. He was an outstanding defensive first baseman. He didn't have the range that he once had because of the physical problems. He went to that ball the wrong way. You have with that kind of speed, you got to take up space. You got to charge the ball. Even though he got there, you still got to be moving toward first base. Going toward the line the way he was, and knowing how gimpy he was, I don't know if he could have gone, stopped, and restarted and beat Lukey to the base. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just know he played the ball wrong. By just going over there sideways as opposed to rounding the ball and moving toward the bag and making the play moving that way.
All right, thank you. And thank you for your passion. Thank you for your toughness. It was such a pleasure watching you play.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Hello, Ray. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Question for you. It's Mets related, but it's when you were on the Reds.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
What was it like playing third base in the 9th inning when Seaver threw his no-hitter?
Oh,
Woo! My idol, Tom Seaver, yeah.
I love that question. That whole year I was 78, and I was going in for Pete defensively after his last at bat, usually in the 7th inning. And Sparky sent George Sherman, bench coach, down in the 5th. And Pete was playing third, and he sent George Sherry down and says, "Ray, you're playing after Pete at bats," which was the 5th inning. And I had never gone in that early for Pete defensively. So anyway, I got an early call to go in and play defense to protect Seaver's no-hitter. And Jerry Morales ended up in the 7th inning hitting a high chopper off the plate. And I was playing it deep because there were 2 strikes. And I came and charged hard as I could, caught the ball in the short hop, and threw him out by about a half a step. So that is one of my proudest moments in the major leagues.
That's cool. Wow.
I have so much admiration for Tom, and he had been in situations where he had no hitters into the 9th inning 2 or 3 or 4 times, and to be able to make a play that helped him get there is. I've probably shown the clip of that play more than any other thing that I have in my collection at home. because I was just proud to be a part of it.
And another weird coincidence in that game, there were a lot of former and future Mets in that game. You had two 86ers with you on in that same game.
Three what?
You had two fellow 86 Mets in that same game.
Who were they?
Keith at first base for the Cardinals,
Okay.
and George Foster in left field for the Reds, who
eventually left. Yeah.
was an 86 Met.
You can't hide talent.
Wow, this guy's good.
That's really good.
I'm glad you asked about Seaver because he was my idol. Like, if you want to hack me, you can just put 41 and everything. That's my password. It's pretty depressing. Any other questions for Mr. Knight? Oh, there we go.
I was just wondering, what is the best pitcher you ever faced against that didn't scuff the ball?
I'm going to, the most dominant pitcher, without a doubt, was Nolan Ryan.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. He did the ball about much faster than anybody else. And I faced Seaver, and he was really tough. But Nolan threw harder, and Tom threw more of a slider, which does that. That's a true slider, just kind of like that. It's kind of like a cut fastball. And Nolan threw a hammer, curveball, and he threw it seemingly as hard as he threw his fastball. And he also didn't mind coming up and hitting me. And he wasn't real comfortable. Best left-handed pitcher that I faced is somebody that nobody's going to think much of, but was, well, I saw him pitch, so I didn't actually face him. Sandy Koufax, I saw him pitch.
Oh, wow.
Was the best left-handed pitcher. Carlton was really nasty, but he hung a lot of breaking balls to me. I hit 5 or 6 home runs off of him. But he was tough against the rest of the league. But Nolan Ryan for certain. And then that 2-3 years that I played behind Doc, he handled the opposition hitters better than any pitcher that I was behind. He was that good. Doc was that good at 19 years old. So nobody wanted to have to face him.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Hey Ray, how are you?
I'm well, thank you.
2 questions. The other guy kind of stole my thunder. What are your 2 top moments from '86? And the second one is non-Mets related. What are your memories of Heroes?
My 2 favorite moments of '86.
World Series, yes.
Okay. Well, we talked about them already. For me, was obviously the Mookie ground ball, and then humbly when I hit a home run in 7th.
Yeah. 4-3.
Those were really unbelievable. Heroes, I'm going to take a minute for Pete, if I may. I met Pete in 1971, and I got called up in '74 to play defense. At that time, Danny Dreesen was playing third, and we were 2 games behind the Dodgers, and I got called up in late August to play defense for Danny Dreesen. And the night that I got called up was on a Friday night. Saturday we had a day game, and he had a party at his house for the whole team. He had a big old home in Western Hills, and it was just a great get-together. He had asked me that Friday night when I'd driven in from Indianapolis, which was only 90 miles away, "Where are you staying, kid?" And I said, I'm staying at the Netherland Hilton Hotel. He said, "No, you're not. You're staying with me." And I'd only seen Pete in spring training, and I'd hardly ever spoke. I don't even know if I ever spoke to him. But anyway, that night after the party, he said, "You gonna stay here tonight?" I said, "No, I didn't bring my clothes." He said, "Well, you bring them tomorrow to the ballpark, and you just stay with me and ride in with me every night." So for that last 6 weeks of the season, I stayed with Pete at his home in Western Hills, and he treated me. I was a 19, 20-year-old kid, and he treated me like I was family. And he was an outfielder then, so I didn't take ground balls with him, but later on, when he moved to third, took ground balls with him every day in 77, 78. And he just was the best teammate, the best baseball player. When you're talking about everything, defense, whether he played left field, right field, second base, first, third, he was solid. Outstanding base runner. Didn't have a great arm, but really accurate. And he charged the ball so hard that it made it seem like he had a great arm. But he could hit, and I'm talking line drive after line drive after line drive after line drive. But in spring training, he would get Scotty Breeden, who was one of our best batting practice pitchers, and he would take him over on field 4, which was at Redsland in Tampa, and they would literally hit for an hour. And they would have minor league pitchers shacking for him, and Pete just hit every day in spring training. And little wonder he became, the all-time hit leader. He was obsessed with hitting. A tremendous amount of, tremendous ability to concentrate. A guy that was tough as nails, and a guy that was fair to everybody. He didn't take anything from anyone, but he never gave anybody anything except play him hard, like sliding into Buddy Harrelson. That's just the way that the game was played. It was supposed to be played that way. It had fallen off, and Pete still played that way. And but a great friend, a great person. Did have a gambling problem. A lot of people have problems. But there's no one that I enjoyed and no one that treated me better in my baseball career than Pete Rose. And I miss him. I got to see him a lot over my lifetime. And he was always just a dear friend. And I wish a lot of you could have met him, because he was the same every day. When he was not on the field, he was laughing, cutting up, having fun, telling jokes, patting you on the butt, giving me a high five. Give me 5, bro. Give me 5. Every day. You walk by and he'd say, give me 5. But he was just fun. But then on the field, he was so serious. I say he's the best player I saw. He wasn't the fastest. He wasn't the most. He was strong as he could be. He had like 160 home runs. He could have hit 360, but he was just a line drive machine. But when you think of Pete Rose, just think about a guy that really was a great, great player and a really good person.
Any other questions from the crowd? I'm just going to ask one last one, and I know that there's a signing coming up. Baseball today, I know you still watch a lot and follow the Mets and follow Major League Baseball. What do you think? I know you are a very hard-nosed player. You just mentioned Pete Rose, who was a seriously hard-nosed player as well. How is the game as far as you see today? I'm going to guess you're not a fan of the golden at bat.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of any of the changes at all. But the game today, for most people, seemingly, they're not playing it the way that it has been played prior to maybe 20 years ago, where the results of the effort, whether it was a bunt, whether it was going from first to third, was running full speed to first base on every ground ball that was hit. That's just all changed. And guys can jog to first base on a ground ball to second, and managers are just like, hey. Well, I managed for 2 years in Cincinnati. I'm not going to be saying, hey. I said, get your ass in that clubhouse. Excuse me. But
No, it's
I just don't, I don't see people that care. I see some people that care. But back in the day, if you didn't care, the leadership, manager, general manager, coaches, they're going to chew your butt. And you're not going to last long. And I just don't see the effort. And I also see now when people make mistakes. I made an error in an 86 World Series on a ground ball by Jim Rice, and I'm going to make an excuse right here. It was a ground ball, and it had gotten down from dew. And when I went to field the ball, it took a little funny hop, and I was charging it to my left. And when I went to get the ball out of my glove, it was a little slick, a little wet. And I didn't have time to get the seams. Normally I have time to rotate the seams and get across seam and throw it with a four seam. I didn't have time. And so I just got and threw it, and it just sailed on me. And, my bad. I mean, I was supposed to be able to make that play. But I went into the clubhouse. I was so embarrassed. I was so hurt. I mean, you could have just hit my over the head with a hammer, and I would have probably felt better. I went in there, and we had a restroom down in the tunnel, and there was a bench there, and I went and sat down on that bench, and I actually said a prayer. And I said, Lord, if this is a game of redeeming features, please give me an opportunity to redeem myself.
Wow.
It beat the heck out of me, and if it would have ended up that way, the rest of my life would have been different. I mean, I'm telling you, it would have been different. As it was, I got an opportunity to make a difference in that 10th inning or whatever it was.
Yeah.
We got the base hit, so it all worked out fine. And not too many people remember that error. Every once in a while, somebody would say to me, "What happened on that ball when you came in?"
I certainly was not about to ask that, Mr. Knight. I was like,
So, anyway, I just want to also say that the 3 years that I spent here in New York, the Met fans were just unbelievable. There's no better fans than the Met fans. Whether or not I'd have made an error that would have cost us the World Series, I'd eventually been forgiven because they're just good people. And they certainly embraced me when I was traded here. And I didn't play that well that first year. And but when everything started going, it wasn't that I had to play well for them to embrace me. But there's nothing like the feel of a Met player having a Met fan come up and talk to you, because it's always sincere. And we feel loved. I felt loved. I still feel loved. And I love you guys back. And
oh, wow.
thank you for all that positivity. And I'm not always gotten along with the leadership of the Nets because they really never brought me back. But
Ooh.
that's okay.
Yeah, we wanted you back, man.
That's
Come on.
okay. But one of these days I'm going to throw out the first pitch in one of these games.
Oh, yes. All right, ladies and gentlemen. He played 13 years in the major leagues, batted .271, 84 home runs, 595 RBIs, two-time All-Star. But most importantly, he was a World Series champion in 1986, the MVP. Ladies and gentlemen, Ray